Hey y'all, welcome or welcome back to my channel. I am Kiera. As you can tell by the title of today's video, I'm going to be going over 5 things that I wish I knew in my early 20s. I am closer to 30 than I am 20. Some of these mistakes or things that I experienced in my early 20s could have been avoided if I had the proper education or just if I was more focused on what was going on in my life at the time. If you are like in your early 20s, even 18, freshly grown, this video is for you. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button, have the post notifications turned on so that you don't miss when I upload videos. I upload every Wednesday at 10 a.m. And of course, you don't want to miss this amazing content. Give this video a thumbs up if you find it helpful. Without too much rambling on, let's go ahead and get into today's video. So the first mistake that I made, freshly grown, early 20s, like 18, 19, 20, early 20s, is thinking that I had it all figured out. I was never that kid that was underage and just wished and waited until I wanted to be grown. Like I never had the experience of I can't wait till I'm grown, I can't wait till I move out, I can't wait till I do this, I can't wait till I do that. I never had that mindset as a kid. Like I feel like I enjoyed my childhood as much as I could. But when I did turn grown, I did feel like I had it all figured out. And you feel like you just have this sense of freedom and you can do whatever you want to do. I know for some people they have super strict parents and then they wild out once they turn 18. My mom was strict. My dad, he wasn't strict at all, but my mom was a little bit strict, and I feel like I still didn't wild out when I turned 18 because I'm just not the wild out kind of girl. I'm just not that kind of girl, but I still felt like I had it all figured out. Not that I was unteachable, but I feel like now that I am where I am today, I'm more open to learning from other people more than I was when I first turned 18 through early 20s. Now I'm more accepting to listening to what people have to say, and I think it's because of experience, just stuff that I went through. A lot of the stuff I'm going to talk about in this video is the reason why I learned that I didn't have it all figured out. You sometimes have to take a step back and see, is what someone else saying correct? Like, should I take a different approach to this? Should I be out doing this or doing that when it's not benefiting my future? Nobody could tell me nothing. And it wasn't in like a rude way. It was just like career-wise, relationship-wise, friendship-wise. I finally got a sense of freedom in those areas of my life. So I didn't really care to get other people's input on my life. You know what I mean? I turned 18. I didn't want advice from adults because I felt like I'm an adult too. Like I'm standing right next to y'all. Like even though they have more experience than me, maybe just coming from different ways that you can be raised. Because I know in a lot of like Black family households, we are raised on respect. So like you are raised to respect your parents. Like if you talk back or even sometimes like state an opinion that you have, it's a form of disrespect. When I turned 18, or even in my early 20s, when I first got grown, I felt like I'm grown now, so you have to respect my decisions. You know what I mean? And I feel like there is some truth to that, but I also feel like there is some stuff that your parents do say that resonate. Like it's stuff that I was told when I was 12, 13 years old that's hitting me now. Like, and I'm like, oh my God, I see why my mom told me this. I see why my aunt or my dad or whoever in my family told me this at this time, because they had already experienced it. But in the earlier ages of my life, you know, teen years, I'm just like, girl, that don't got nothing to do with me. Like, but it did have something to do with me. And some of the messages that I received as a like teenager hit me now that I'm starting to experience more life. So all that wisdom that was being poured onto me when I was a teenager is starting to resonate more with me now than it did when I was in my early 20s. It's like it was in one ear and out the other, but that message came back around full circle, and it was like, girl, look, this is what they meant when they said this. A lot of stuff that I'm still learning to this day, and that I probably don't even know from people that are, you know, in their 40s and 50s that can give me some knowledge. You have to always be open to learn. Have an open ear to just listen to what people have to say. You don't have to live your life according to what other people are saying. Take into consideration that they may have a little bit more knowledge than what you think. And it also depends on the type of person you are, how you were raised, how you grew up, because I know a lot of people are forced to grow up a little bit faster than others. Your mindset is not grown up. Like, you are doing all this, but you are still not grown, if that makes sense. You know what I'm saying? So even though you are age-wise grown, your mindset is still not at that maturity that it needs to be when you first turn 18, 19, 20. So my word of advice for feeling like you have it figured out is don't block out messages that are meant to hit you, because sometimes they may resonate with you when you turn 25, 26, 27 years old. So just always don't live according to someone else's life, but don't be afraid to take messages and advice from someone that may help you further on in your future. So the next mistake that I made, or tips that I have for you as far as making these mistakes, is focusing on building my credit. Okay, credit is one of those things that piss me, excuse my language, credit is one of the things that make me so mad because it's just numbers. And it's like, why does these numbers matter? Like, credit scores just makes me angry. But it is important when you're trying to establish credit, when you're trying to build a foundation for yourself. It's something that does matter in the adult world. So when I first turned 18, I wasn't really focused on building my credit. When I left college, I started working. I started working and stuff, and I started to like take out credit cards, like not like a bunch of credit cards. I wasn't going like super crazy. This is when I started working at Victoria's Secret, and I got approved for a credit limit $500. That was a lot of money to me back then. I think I was like 19 going on. I wasn't even 20 when I was at Victoria's Secret. I was 19. I got a $500 credit limit, and then they upped it to $750 because I was making my payments on time. But the thing is that I wasn't focused on building my credit with that credit card. I was focused on buying me clothes from Victoria's Secret. This is when pink was popping. I really don't wear like brands like that no more, like where it says pink and all that stuff. I'm just not into labels and stuff. I guess I'm just grown up from that. But I kind of like would max out my card on like body smells and like body fragrances and body just beauty and just bras and stuff like that. Also, like I was getting a discount at the store, so it's like I was able to use my credit card with a discount. Wild. Okay, so that's one credit card that I messed up. I also have like other credit cards that I had took out like a couple years after that. It's like they were like just giving me, and I wasn't focused on building my credit. And I feel like that's like a big mistake that you can make when you first turn 18, when you don't have any credit established, is just start taking out credit cards and just thinking that that is just money to spend. It is money to spend, but you also have to be careful with the amount that you're spending. You don't want to be spending more than you are paying back to your credit card. You don't want things to go to delinquent, or just like getting stuff charged on your card, or it going on your credit score, and things like that. Because then you definitely would have to like start paying that stuff off before you're able to get certain things in your name. And I think that when I was first 18, 19, 20, like I wasn't thinking about establishing credit. I wasn't thinking about a credit score. I didn't care. Like my credit score probably wasn't established, but it could have been better had I got the credit cards and just bought things here and there and then paid it off. Like I wasn't thinking that way. Like when I got approved for a credit card, I went to the store and maxed it out. Like every dollar that was on the credit card, I went and maxed it out because I wasn't taught that financial literacy in school. I wasn't taught it at home. It was like, it's like this thing, I guess it may be different for different households, but in my household, like mostly in like Black family households, we take out credit cards because we needed to pay bills. So if we taking out a $300 credit card and we are late on bills, that $300 is going to the bills. But for me, it was on clothes, but that was my mistake. But it's like you have to be responsible. Like if you're not financially responsible, and able to keep track of what you're spending and know that you shouldn't spend a certain amount, don't take out credit cards. I feel like if you're going to take out a credit card, you need to be financially responsible for what you're spending and what you're going to pay back. And don't think because, oh, my monthly payments are $20, $50, that you're just going to be able to pay it back, because life happens and sometimes you won't be able to make that payment. So you have to be more mindful. And I feel like when you are like spending a lump sum of money on your credit card, then you need to pay off majority of what you spent before. And I'm not no credit advisor or whatever the heck you call them, but you still need to just make sure if you can't pay off majority of what you spend, then you don't need to spend that money. Like if you don't plan on paying it right back, don't spend it just because it's there. You know what I mean? Like, and I think that was like a huge mistake that I made like in my early 20s, is just not focusing on my credit building. I was more focused on spending the credit line, and I just didn't care. Like I wasn't thinking about it. I didn't think twice about it. All I knew is I had $300, $400, $500, $600 on my card, and I just wanted to use it. That's all I knew. So my advice to you for that is be more financially responsible. Do not allow these high credit limits to make you spend the money if you don't need to spend it. Like save it for a rainy day. I'm not saying get the credit card and don't use it at all. Of course, use it, because if you don't use it, they'll close the line, and that's not good for your credit score either. But just always be mindful and don't be irresponsible when it comes to spending habits. Like if you have bad spending habits with your own money or borrowing money from like family and friends, like do not borrow from a credit lender, because they're gonna I'm telling you, they don't play games. It don't matter where you move to. It don't matter what phone number you have. They will find you. And it's the most annoying thing because those bees are pushy. They know how to do their job well, and they know how to piss you off in the process. And it's like, okay, you do owe them money, but it's like they'll get to asking you personal questions. It's stuff that you can avoid if you just be financially responsible for yourself in the beginning. Build your credit, don't blow it. Okay, that's my advice for you for mistakes that I've made in my early 20s. So another mistake that I made in my early 20s was trying to hold on to friendships and relationships that were meant to end. I would try to hold on to like relationships and friendships with people simply because of the history that we shared together. Think about all the friendships or relationships that you had that you thought was going to last a lifetime and didn't. Okay, when it comes to that, I feel like I was trying to hold on to things just because of the history I shared with people, just because I felt like I wasn't going to find other friends, or because I was just trying to hold on to like certain friendships. And I feel like that pretty much stopped me from making new friends. It kept me in toxic friendships longer than what I needed to be in. It just kept me in situations that I didn't need to be in that long. Even when I saw the red flags of like certain friendships and relationships, I still just looked past it because I thought like that's what it's supposed to be like when you're like friends with people. And I know sometimes like when you are friends with people, you do have like misunderstandings, arguments, and times where you don't speak to each other for a while and you can come back, but some of that stuff is just too toxic. And like arguing with people, getting back cool with them, and taking back friendships and relationships that are not meant to be in your life anymore can sometimes do more harm than good because you were like pretty much holding yourself back. So my advice for that mistake is to just not allow people that have overstayed their welcome in your life to continue to overstay that welcome. If it's time for them to bounce, let them go. You do not have to be friends with people because you went to grade school with them, because they were there for 5 years of your life, 2 years, 3 years, even a year. If you feel like you have outgrown a certain person or outgrown people, groups of people, relationships, even family members, if you feel like you have outgrown anyone, I feel like it is best for your, if it's for your best interest that you don't be around them, then you have to do what is best for you. Sometimes you do have to get that distance from people just because they're not meant to be in your life from that moment forward. Pay attention to red flags in friendships and relationships because a lot of times the signs are there, and if you are paying attention to it, you will notice who is meant to be in your life and who is not meant to be in your life. And you can drag it on for years to even decades, and you're like, I should listen to myself back when I was in my early 20s, when I knew I shouldn't have been here, when I knew I shouldn't have been dealing with this friend because she was fake or he was fake or they just didn't have my best interest. I knew I shouldn't have been there, and you should have listened to yourself then. So the next mistake that I made in my early 20s that I wish I didn't was not setting goals for myself and not being focused on goals or achieving anything or just like trying to be the best version of myself. If you are like living life and just having fun, I'm not saying don't do that, but also be focused on what you want to do and what you see for yourself a couple years from now. And I was like, so I'm like a very responsible person when it comes to my life, but I also wasn't like focused, and I didn't know what I wanted to do. And it's so crazy because a lot of times people expect you to know exactly what you want to do when you get out of high school, and it's not really ever the case. Like you don't really know exactly what you want to do, or even when you get out of college, or things just change. Life happens and things change. And I felt like when I was in my early 20s, I really didn't even know the direction that I wanted to go in life. Like I have more of a sense of direction where I want to go in life now than I did when I was in my early 20s, fresh out of high school, 18, 19 years old. Like I did not know what the hell I wanted to do. I was just going with the flow of life. I was just working from this job, that job, every job. And I also didn't have a baby at the time. It may be different for every other person, but once I had a baby, I felt like I became more responsible for the goals that I set for my future because I wasn't only living for myself anymore. I was living for another person, and I'm responsible for her life. So if I'm not doing well, she's not going to be doing well. So I had to figure out what I was going to do for my life and the things that I was passionate about, things that was going to get me further in my career fields and things like that. It helps set a financially stable future for both me and my daughter. In my early 20s, I wasn't thinking about that. Like I really wasn't. I was just living life. I'm not really a huge party or anything like that, so I wouldn't say I was just out clubbing. I did used to go to like some parties, but it was typically always with a friend. I never was the type of person that initiated the going out or like, let's go out here, let's go out there. Like I don't know the club spots in the city that I live in, and I've lived here my entire life. Like I don't know party, and I don't really go out. If I do, like I said, I'm with a friend, so it wasn't like I was a huge partier. It's just that I also wasn't focused on my goal. I feel like in my early 20s, I was smoking a lot of weed back then, and I'm saying back then, like I was just so old, but I was smoking a lot of weed. I'm actually a year and 6 months free from smoking weed, and I'm so proud of myself for that. So let's get a clap for me because I'm super happy about that. And yeah, I stopped smoking weed almost a year and 6 months ago, but in my early 20s, I was like heavy on smoking weed. I mean, like I was like smoking all the time. And like the only time I did stop was when I got pregnant. And then, like, I think about 5 months postpartum, I started back. Um, yeah, so it was like really, really crazy for me in early 20s. Like I wasn't being responsible, financially responsible. Like I stated before, I wasn't focused on my goal setting. I wasn't focused on my future. I was just kind of living in the moment. My advice to you for that is to, even if you are just living and having fun, always have something that you are working towards, something that you want to build for yourself or your family or your foundations for yourself. Always have something that you are working towards. The last and final mistake that I made in my early 20s that I wish I didn't was making excuses. Like I was a big excuse maker. Anytime something came along or anytime I needed to do something, I would make excuses and feel like my excuses were valid. Like if I made an excuse about something, it was valid and I don't care what anyone else said. If I didn't want to go somewhere, my excuse for that not wanting to go to a certain place was valid. Not wanting to go after certain things, my excuse was always made valid because I said so. And I feel like I made too many excuses in my past that have kept me in my comfort zone, like making excuses for people and their behaviors, making excuses for my own behavior, just making excuses for the things that I accepted in my life. And I'm at a place now where I'm not accepting excuses. Anytime I find myself making an excuse on anything in my life, I redirect that energy to something else. Like, and this is an example because I've been working out and not in the last like week, but I've been working out, like doing at home workouts. Anytime I would be like, I don't really want to do it. And I would just literally say to myself, Kiera, what's your excuse today? Like, what is your excuse today? Just don't make excuses. Like, don't make excuses for your behavior. Don't make excuses for your actions. Don't make excuses on why you're not going after what you dream of or what you want to do in life. In my early 20s, I made excuses about starting YouTube. I wanted to start YouTube forever. Like I always wanted to start a YouTube channel, and I will always make the excuse of not having the right cameras and lights and backdrops and blah 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 blah. One day I just started with my phone, stopped making excuses, and I just did it. And now I'm more confident and comfortable on camera. I'm not scared to film myself anymore. And I feel like if I would have kept making excuses, I would have never got started. I would have never found exactly what I wanted to do or what I wanted to speak about on my channel. Once I stopped making excuses for myself, I was able to direct my energy and figure out what it is that I wanted to do. And this like kind of goes into like me being able to set goals for myself. Like once I stopped making excuses, I was able to set those goals for myself and I was able to achieve certain goals because I wasn't allowing myself to make excuses and, you know, making myself be stuck where I was. But that is what I have for today's video on mistakes that I made in my early 20s. Let me know down in the comments if you made any of these mistakes in your early 20s or if you kind of took away some advice from this video. Please let me know down below. Like I said, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Also make sure you have the post notifications turned on so you don't miss when I upload videos. I upload every Wednesday at 10 a.m. and of course you don't want to miss this amazing content. But that is what I have for today's video, and I will catch y'all in another video. Thanks so much for watching.